a beautiful morning right here at High Impact Television. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Newspaper Review. My name is Esther Kalu. Now we are joined by our guest this morning, who is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Obi Naokorafor.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, so the papers this morning have various segments, and majorly on insecurity, which is where we're going to start. We've had the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, Baba Usman, come out to say there's going to be a database for criminals. And how did you perceive this report when you saw it this morning on the papers?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best decisions that should be taken, because for a very long time that has eluded the country.
Okay.
So that somebody commits crime after some time, there's no much. So if this can be seen through, we'll be very sure that at any point in time we can identify what somebody has done some time ago, and no matter where he or she has run to, it can always be identified through a properly coordinated database. I think that's a good step in the right direction. But my problem is, I hope this will be seen through to the end and implemented. Yeah,
it's even the maintenance culture that we're looking at now, when we even say a database system, looking at the kind of technology we have on ground. Is this something that you see as being quick in terms of implementing and maintaining the culture?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, one of the problems we have discovered or found out in Nigeria is that we are not lacking in policy formulations. We are not lacking in ideas. But the problem have been the implementation of these policies. Okay. So I still emphasize that if we can, whatever we have on ground now does not matter. If we are determined to see it through, then we can go ahead to get whatever it takes to get it implemented and get it sourced and put a proper database and to be followed through. It's not going to be something that will be after a particular regime leaves, others now discard it. No, it should be a continuation. There are certain things that are national, as a national program, that should be a continuation, irrespective of the regime change or regime on ground. So whoever takes over should. So the institutions that are to maintain this should be apolitical. Okay. To mention that whoever takes over does not influence or affect what happens there.
Okay, now that we're still in that angle, meanwhile, President Buhari has called on the National Assembly to help in the end of insecurity. So the term ending insecurity, I know that he's calling for help here, first of all, but ending it, is it something that can, fizzle out finally in our system?
Well, when you say ending insecurity, the truth is that the much that the National Assembly can do is to bring up laws and provide the legal framework as per this. The implementation still remain with the president. Okay. So where the president takes it seriously and beyond, and it should be seen, because it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to see it happening. Yeah. Because one of the things that have helped the security to face that the way it is now is because after much emphasis, technical dissemination, defeating, you see them becoming stronger and stronger. People believe that much effort have not been exerted, or probably they have not been what they call political will to go after them, because these people, they know where they are, and there could be serious confrontation that should have taken, and it appears that there are some people benefiting from the whole thing that doesn't want this to stop. So if the president really want that help, I think it's everybody's duty to put hands together as a country. Okay, yeah, it's everybody's responsibility. But you mentioned the political will. So political will in what aspect exactly? Yeah, the truth is that if you say, for instance, before this time, the security issue was only in the northeast. Okay. After some time, it traversed into the northwest, north central, that when the Fulani herdsmen issue was coming up, now to the northwest, now before we know it, it has gone to the southeast, now to the unknown gunmen, and all of that. So virtually every part of the country, the southwest also is not left out. Now, people seem to see that one of the major elements to the security issue is the quote, Fulani herdsmen, because they keep emphasizing that you should not profile ethnic grouping because you have the word Fulani herdsmen. But you realize that they are majorly the same people causing trouble almost everywhere. And people see them as being kind of pampered. So that gives room to some other people also who feel that, well, they can also do something and go away with it. So assuming the president, assuming the executive have taken confrontational or frontal approach against the killer herdsmen that cause most of this problem, I believe for a very long time, the issue of insecurity wouldn't have been.
What confrontational approaches do you propose should be taken in dealing with these herdsmen, as you have mentioned it?
Now, there are two ways to it. The fact remains that one of the things that has come to the table is the stopping of the open grazing, which most of them have opposed. I was listening to somebody, one of the coordinators or convener of the Northern Coalition yesterday in one of the radio stations, and I was worried that if such a person who have such influence, Northern Coalition, he's a convener, having such a wide influence could speak the way he was speaking, then one wonders why we are having the kind of perception from the north, seeing the ban on open grazing by the southern governors as a confrontation against the president, as a confrontation or probably as a fight against the Fulanis. That was what he was saying. And we begin to say, no, this is something that is, if you look at every part of the major part of the countries, what has caused this problem is what they call the herders and farmers clashes. And who are the people involved in this? They are basically Fulanis. So how come that? So if it had been taken care of, assuming we adopt the principle of ranching, that is what happens globally. That is the best way to manage this, so they will stop carrying this up and down. And as they move up and down, they destroy people's property. And what used to happen in those days is that as those things are destroyed, you are called, you pay for the destruction. But this time around, what now happens is that if they are destroyed, before you know it, if the farmers confront them or ask for it, before you know it, in the night, they call their, they say they are not the one that calling them, but that coincidence is not something one can link with.
I like us to stick with the reports we have and the facts that we have, typically.
So that is what happens. So assuming that part of those killer headers have been handled to ensure that anybody who commits crime is made to face the law. So that has not happened. To the best of the knowledge of many Nigerians, we have not seen that happen. So that gives embolden so many other people to get involved in criminality.
Do the communities have a role to play in this fight against insecurity now generally? Because we're not looking at it from just one angle. We're talking about insecurity generally, from kidnappings to abduction to banditry. We still have a story here this morning about the Bethel Baptist School children, some 3 of them that have been found by the police and they are taken care of at the moment. But is this, we need a structure, we need an answer for all the forms of insecurity. Every form of insecurity is bad. Yeah, you know, this has been agitation for state policy. In fact, in the US or in some other part of the world, we have not only state policy, local counties, local government, and even school has various security, so that those are the ones that understand the environment. So in terms of the community being part, yes, they should be. But the fact remains that to what extent can they be part of it? To what extent can they be part of the security aspect where they are confronted with superior firearms, right? So, and again, most of the complaints they have also is that maybe the police also is overwhelmed, because some of the people that have been arrested somehow, handed over to the police, that seems to be the end of it. Some of them, there have been such accusations there. So the community seems to be helpless. And what happened, especially the experience in Benue angle, where those who were like the local hunters that had the den guns and all of that, trying to confront them, the police came and gathered all the ammunition, so invariably leaving them helpless. Right? So if we want the communities to be part of the security system, there should be a properly coordinated structure. The police will do their job, properly coordinated from the base, because they will be able to, those locals will be able to understand any strange coming within their locality, and then work with the police to see how, at least gathering of intelligence is one of the greatest aspect of fight against insecurity. How would state policing not affect the federal body of policing as well? Because, you know, if there's this clash between the federal aspect and the locals, it might also not achieve the aim at the end of the day. The aim is to fight insecurity, whichever way it happens. But how do you see state policing and the federal bodies of security councils working hand in hand and not having clashes at all?
If you are having the same objective, there's no need of clashing.
Okay.
If you are running on the same direction, you can't collide.
We're talking about 36 states.
I understand what you're saying.
Aside the Federal Capital Territory.
Yes, I understand. If you are running on the same direction, it will be difficult to collide, face frontal collision.
Yeah.
You can maybe have a skirmishes by the side or something, but except something goes wrong, you can't collide openly. What that implies is that there will be properly defined structures. In the US, we have FBI, right?
Yes.
We have other state policies, is that not? We copy so many other things from the US democracy, but most of the things they do, we don't do it here. But it has become very clear. Even every part of the country have said that before this time they were saying that Nigeria was not ripe for state policing. But it has become very clear now that the state police, because the governors have been screaming that except where they have a proper kind of what do you call it now, rapport with the state commissioners. Most of the time when they call them, they say they want to take orders from above, from Abuja. Okay. So, and the thing could have gone wrong. So, but if you allow the governor, this excuse would disappear, that they are not the chief security officer, but they are not in charge of security. Okay. So they will be effectively deploy the security vote they collect, and they will be held fully and 100%, squarely accountable for the security of the state. Now, the fear that they are going to use it against their political enemies, are they not using federal police against the political enemies? It's not working like that. So if the fear also of saying that they are going to abuse it, is the federal police not being abused? So do we now say we should scrap the federal police? So definitely it's going to be a phase. But we believe that at the time we find ourselves now is the best time to have, let's experiment it. Okay. The state police will be such a way that most of the people that are within the state as the police officers are more familiar with the happenings and the environments they operate. Like having somebody from Borno to come and police Ogun State, it will take a long time for him to get in contact with the system there, right? So I think that the state police will go a long way to solving the insecurity problem. If there's any other problem that will come up, we will get to the bridge. Yeah. We'll cross it. Oh,
talking about other problems that may come up, we have today that the Senate okays Electoral Offences Commission 20-year jail for offenders. 20-year jail for offenders. Some of the offenses we have seen are offenses like stealing ballot boxes, let's not go into rigging election and all of those kind of reports now. But I'm trying to connect 20-year for jail offenders first, then we'll go into the electoral aspect, the electronic aspects now that is being proposed to put into our electoral system.
Well, that would be good. That would be great. Okay. I'm being a bit pessimistic that will happen.
Why so?
Yeah, because except things fundamentally different happen in Nigeria, right, we have enough laws that can take care of some of the offenses. The problem is how will you prove those offenses?
All right. Somebody
will tell you here, I contested, a group of groups will gather. A support group, he tells you he's not the one that gathered them. Okay. Those who commit crime and all of that. Our legal system must be such that, except if the contestants are held responsible and liable to whatever anybody does on his or her behalf, this law, in my mind, will be difficult to prove. Because how will you hold somebody, for instance, I want to contest, Mr. Obin, I want to contest for election, and a group of people spring up from nowhere and say they are Obinna support group. Okay. And then they do something else anyway. Of course, I will not stop them. Okay. If they go and do something wrong, it's even possible that a political opponent can formulate groups that can fight the other one because of this. So it would be wonderful if that can happen, but I'm just find it very difficult.
But when the electronic system, the technology is added to our electoral process, how do you see this? Because we can see that, okay, physical ballot boxes can be stolen, but if we have have technology added into our registration, maybe our voting system, how do you see this? This offense being held visibly? How do you see that we can see?
One thing I know is that if we can see through to electronic voting, electronic transmission of results, and have technology to get involved in to a reasonable degree in our electoral process. It will reduce the level of crime.
Okay.
So while so doing, we might even not need much of but whatever be any kind of outliers or extents, or maybe kind of isolated cases can be handled. So that's what my thinking is. Okay,
thank you so much for your thoughts with us on the newspaper review this morning. We would have loved to go on and on, but for our time, we'd need to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Obinna Okorafo.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is where we call it a wrap on the newspaper review this morning. Do stay tuned to continue with the Tea or Coffee team. My name is Esther Kalu. Till I see you again, stay safe. Bye-bye.